Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to another session of Playing from the Tips. We are here at beautiful Harbor Hills Country Club, and as always, head teaching pro, PGA pro, Tom Lineberger is here with me, and we have especially prized guest, and I'm overwhelmed just in talking to him before we got on camera. You don't get a chance to sit with somebody who can really represent the history of golf. And this gentleman has actually won a tournament on the Champions Tour and has beaten the likes of, I was told, Lee Trevino and some other top-notch golfers. And this gentleman's name is Al Kelley. And Al, to bring the viewers up to speed, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you said you grew up in Akron, but tell us a little bit about how you sojourned down here to Florida.
Well, I moved down to Florida in 1951.
Mm-hmm.
I was a junior in high school and went out for the golf team and didn't have much experience at golf, so I was the last man on the totem pole. Probably was lucky that they even let me go out for the team.
So what high school were you at?
That was Orlando High School. That was before it divided up. In those days, there was just 3 high schools in Orlando. There was Orlando, Jones High,
Okay.
and Winter Park.
Wow.
And so.
So what are they now? Bishop Moore would have been. Was that Bishop Moore would be? Is that the
Didn't exist
wasn't
at
it?
that time. So it
Okay.
took me something like 6 or 7 months to get down to where I made the team, fortunately. But my folks moved on a golf course, which is handy.
That's really handy. That's nice.
Moved on Dubstred, and so that was a good
Dubstred.
place to be. And I caddied for some good players on the weekend, and so that helped my game.
I'll bet it did.
So from there, the next year, they split schools, became Edgewater and Boone. So it was no longer Orlando High School. And the whole golf team, incidentally, our golf team won the state in 52.
Wow.
And then we went to Edgewater and we won it again in 53. So at that time, there was 10 big schools in the state, and they were called the Big Ten. Orlando High School was one of the Big Ten. The next year was divided up. I guess maybe went to Big 12, I don't know.
All right. That's pretty good. Back-to-back years.
Well, you had such a fantastic success in high school, obviously, and you were, I'm sure, very humbly saying, well, I was like the last guy, and they put me in on. I have a feeling you worked your way up. I think you're an important cog of two championship teams, it sounds like to me. But you ended up being a Gator, Florida Gator.
Then I went on to Florida and played on the golf team there. Really didn't play on the first team to my 3rd year, because we had Doug Sanders and Pat Schwab and Don Blispinghoff, and they were all superstars.
Oh,
Now, what was Sanders like in college? I mean, he had the personality when he went on the tour.
Well, he was very personable, but his main thing was golf, and so he didn't do a whole lot in school. He just mainly was interested in golf. And
Did he dress?
and
Did he have
liked
the
to-
same?
liked to
He was
play
always
generally,
flamboyant. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very
Well,
flamboyant.
Maybe not quite as much so in college as he was on tour.
And I don't know if everybody remembers Doug Sanders. Not only was he one of the top golfers internationally, he had a very, very abbreviated backswing. I remember thinking, boys, not the way you're. I'm watching him on TV, and my dad said, if you're going to golf, you aren't going to swing like that, because it kind of looked pretty good. He didn't even take it back. He got it back to his hip and just whipped it around, it seemed like, but had phenomenal success and was really, he's a golf icon. So he's on your team. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was so phenomenal that we had the Florida Intercollegiate, and they played at DeLand Country Club.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug Sanders wins this. He's 24 under. Pat Schwab's 22 under. The team wins by like 40 shots. But it was just such a strong team. Any tournament Doug entered, you could bet that he was going to be 15 to 20 under par. He won the state amateur that way. And he'd go up and play in the Piney Woods Invitational and all the tournaments in Georgia. And he would bet on himself because they'd have a Calcutta or whatever. And he'd win. And didn't matter what it cost because he knew he was going to win.
Yeah, no pressure on him. He didn't have to worry about losing money, I guess. But no, it's interesting. I don't want to spend a lot more talking about Doug Sanders, but I want to mention that he had such success, even internationally and up north. He's a Florida guy?
He is.
Well,
Well, he was from Georgia,
oh, okay. Well, almost. I guess what
but
I'm
he
saying,
went to Florida.
it would seem to me, and you can obviously make comment on this because you were up north and you came down here, but it would seem to me it would be. Is it more difficult transition for a northern golfer to come down south and learn how to play, or is it tougher for a Florida player to go up north and learn to
Well, I
play?
think it's tougher to come south.
Why is that?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, they got to learn to play grainy greens.
right.
Well, yeah, I figured.
Not as much anymore as it was in those days, because they find Bermuda grass so much that it's almost like bent grass, not quite. And the other thing is the sandy soil, so at times you're going to get these sandy lies, and those were a little more difficult for guys that were used to playing out of plush bluegrass.
See, the reason it surprised me, I guess, just because I would think the drop in temperature, along with the different side hill stances, downhill lies, or whatever. Obviously, the greens, as far as scoring goes, the greens, I can see where grainy greens.
But the
Yeah,
rough's
that's
also
probably
an
the main
issue.
thing.
I think I grew up in New York.
Well,
New
yeah,
York,
that's right.
Cleveland, and
Yeah.
I mean, you get a flyer up north, but you hit in that deep Bermuda rough, you can't get it out.
Can't get it out.
Right.
I mean, you're going to advance it, but you're not
Big
going to get
difference.
a big difference. I don't mind a flyer.
That's
You can
another
kind of
thing.
judge it, try to judge how much it's going to jump.
Yeah.
But when they sink in the Bermuda grass,
That was
You-
another
you-
thing, when you get thick Bermuda grass, it takes some strength to get
just
out
to
of
get
there.
it out.
Or see,
In bent grass greens, when you read it right, you're going to make it. In Bermuda grass, you can read it right, but you might not make it. The grain will pull it, and it'll hop, and they're harder to putt.
Right. So it's getting used to that for guys from up north.
well, I was I was curious about that. I'm also intrigued. Okay, so you're on the Florida team, and you leave the Florida team. Right now, are you thinking, I'm going to go for the tour? I can make it on tour. Is that something that was calling you?
No, I
or-
wasn't a good enough player at that point.
You weren't,
In
okay.
fact, I stayed 2 days after I got out of school in '56 to play in the Gainesville City tournament, and I won it. And so that was kind of stepping stone
That should
for
have
me.
tipped you off that maybe
Right.
you were getting ready.
And,
Yeah.
and then I went to work in the electronics industry, and I got called up for active duty. I went up for my physical in the Army, and so I said, well, this is getting close, and I'd heard about the Air Force Reserves, so I enlisted in the Air Force, and so then I was a reservist. So then I'm working in the electronics industry, but I'm playing every tournament I can. We had a long weekend or something, I'm playing in a tournament.
Sure.
And so in '57, I won the Piney Woods Invitational in Thomasville, Georgia. So that was my first stepping stone
Now,
as an amateur
what was
player.
so that was the top amateurs in the South, or
Well, it's whoever wanted to play.
whoever wanted to
Yeah,
play, I guess.
right. We had to qualify.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And I drove all night to get there. I was tied for low qualifying. I had a playoff. And then I played match play, ending up 36 holes the last day. I win the tournament, drive all night to get back so I can go to work the next day. Probably slept on the job.
And you said it's a 36-hole match play. Is that what you said?
Well, I played 36. It was
30
2 matches on
yeah.
Sunday.
Oh, okay. That's what I got you.
that's-
Okay. No,
I know.
no. Is there anybody that we would know that played in the Piney Woods the tournament that you?
Well, not
no.
likely.
Okay. I was just wondering if that's somebody that you played surface.
There were some name players then, but
Sure,
the
sure.
best name players, I didn't have to play, and they got beat before they got to me. So
That's not your fault. That's the way it goes.
so it ended up in the finals. It's myself and another guy named Gibson, and neither one of them said done a whole lot. But that's the way it goes. You never know.
Well, that's right.
And so that was kind of the start, of my amateur success. And so from then until I turned pro in 1962, I won 18 tournaments.
and that was, and you said 5 or 6 years getting ready to get on the tour.
Well, I don't know when tour thoughts came into mind. It
Okay.
was more or less trying to be a good amateur.
Okay.
As I got better at doing that, then I guess really the breakthrough was I won the state amateur in '60, and then in '62 I'm in the Air Force. I got called up for active duty, and I'm in the state amateur again. And a friend of mine who I was playing a lot with, he said, "If you win the state again, I'll put you on tour." So I won it at Rio Pinar in Orlando,
Wow.
and I called him up, and he said, "When do you want to start?"
So he was a backer.
He was my backer.
That's what you needed, right?
To start with, yeah.
That's fantastic. So take me to your first professional tournament. Where was it?
Well, luckily, it was I had played once as an amateur. I played in West Palm Beach Open in
Oh, okay.
'61, and I made the cut and played fairly well. And I thought, I think I can play out here. Excuse me. And '62, the first tournament was at Coral Gables
Coral Gables, okay.
at Biltmore.
Wow.
And so I qualified for it. And so we go out there, and I shoot 65 the first round. I'm leading the tournament.
So who did you play with in the first round? Do you
Yeah.
remember?
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you.
I know who I played with. in the
He just
Last round?
He knows how he
round, yeah.
remembered the score there. He knew what he
Yeah.
shot.
That's good.
Well, not many people lead the first
No,
round.
I
The
think
first
that's-
tournament they
I-
played in on tour.
I would bet they remember you more than you're remembering them. I'll bet.
No, were you
I had it.
you putt side settle? Were you side settle then?
Oh, no,
No.
no, not until 11 or 12 years ago.
Yeah, he putts
Oh, really? Side
Yeah.
like
saddle?
Sam Snead.
But I'm not anchored.
Yeah, sure.
But you're not.
No, I'm
No,
here.
no, that's-
Right. The side saddle.
no, they won't. They're not going to kick you out.
No.
You're not anchored. That's right. Yeah, but that's Sam Snead did that. That's
Yeah.
right. As he was finishing up his career on the Champions.
But I haven't proved it enough that anyone wants to do that on a regular tour.
It's all comfort, right? It's whatever you're comfortable doing. So that's
Right.
fantastic.
Adam Scott kind of did it. I mean, he was probably the best one out there on the long putter. I mean, as far as the long putter.
But he's still anchoring.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
anchored it. There's no question about
When you
it.
look at Langer today, he's like this far away
Right.
from his chest. You're like, is he anchored?
Well,
He's not quite anchored.
I'll tell you what,
Right.
we are done with the first round, and we're all on the leaderboard right now. But I'll tell you what, we're going to be back with the second round with our special guest Al Kelley. We got a lot more to talk about, and we've got some trophies to look at. And I'm going to pick his brain to hear some more about his golf memories. So we'll be back with the second round of Playing from the Tips right after this. All right, we are back with the second round of Playing from the Tips here at beautiful Harbor Hills Country Club. And as always, I'm with Tom Lineberger, head teaching pro, PGA pro, here at Harbor Hills, and our special guest, Al Kelley, a champion on the seniors tour when the tour champions started. This gentleman just happened to win one of the events. I would say that's we still can't get him to talk about when he really knew he was going to be a champion. He's not going to. I can tell he's too humble to go there. But I really wanted to talk. We were talking about, okay, so 62, he makes the cut in his first tournament, shoots a 65 in the first round. So obviously you're not overwhelmed or awed by what's going on. Obviously you were focused.
I was focused. Probably unconscious too.
No, I don't know about that. And I know you don't. Do you remember some of the players that were in the tournament? Were there any big names in it?
Well, Gardner Dickinson won the tournament.
Gardner
eventually.
Dickinson, okay.
Dave Reagan was playing, and there's a lot of good players that were in there. Bill Collins.
Oh, sure.
Guys like that, Joyce Boris, I think, and Doug Sanders might have been in that.
Well,
So
these
who
are
This
big names.
This is the regular tour now. It was the last tournament of the year in 1962.
So who was after the 65? What? I know we didn't.
Well, I
win.
shot 71, 72, 73,
Well, that's
Okay.
which
respectable.
I finished 15th.
Right. I was going to say.
And I
that's-
had a walloping check. Guess what it was?
I'll embarrass myself. Okay, what, 15th?
15th in the first
Back
tournament.
in 60.
Should I tell you what the total purse was?
Yeah, I'd love to know what the total purse was.
$20,000. Now guess how much I won.
15th? 600?
Yeah, you're close. 500. 500.
Wow. How about that?
Well, here's the thing. The last three tournaments on tour in 62 were not Beaumont. Mobile, Alabama, West Palm Beach, and Coral Gables. And the next year, they want them to go up in price to $30,000 or something.
Okay.
And I guess they didn't feel like they could do it, so those three tournaments went by the wayside.
Oh, boy.
So didn't get to go back and play Coral Gables again. But the interesting thing was that I made 17 birdies and an eagle in the 4 rounds.
Yeah?
10 under par won the tournament, and I finished 3 under par. So my inexperience cost me a
Yeah,
lot of shots.
yeah.
You know, I can go back and tell you a lot of shots I wasted, like trying to hit it left-handed on one hole and hitting it out of bounds.
Oh,
I mean, that's not
So
too
what,
wise.
when you know, you're at the elite as you can get any more elite than you are. When you said you couldn't make it out there to start with, what did you? I'm kind of curious. Back then, what part of your game did you felt like you needed to work on? And then you said, "Hey, is there a part
You
of your
said
game?"
doesn't make it, you know, in '62. Are you talking prior to that?
No, but when you were out there, when you said you didn't know if you were good enough quite to play out there all the time, then you won. You said, "Yeah, I am good enough." Is there something that you said, "Hey, I need to work on this part of my game to get better,"
when I was
or
talking
just
about
learning how to
winning,
win?
You know, there I'm talking about coming out of college.
Right.
You know, I had never won a tournament, and then I win a tournament, just a 2-day event, but it was Gainesville City Open, and you know, I went from there to win the other amateur tournaments. You know, the other 18 that I won.
So it was confidence.
And-
What is it? Getting
Well,
the confidence and
it's
just relaxing. and knowing-
confidence, you know, getting the swing better, being more consistent, you know, the things that you have to do. And I had to, in '61, I won the Riviera Open, which was a pro tournament, and that was in Daytona.
oh, okay.
It's a winter tour event. We had a full field, 144 players, and I beat Bob Toski and Skip Alexander to win that.
Some names there.
And Toski, I was stationed at Homestead, and Toski said, "Why don't you come by if you want any help? Come by and see me. I'm at Kings Bay. Kings Bay." And so I got to work with Toski some before I went on tour, so that was big. So I'd go over there and play with him some. And
So what did Bob have to say about your game? I mean, I've seen you hit a lot of shots in my
Well,
lifetime.
you know, I'm fairly vertical in my backswing. He tried to get me down lower, like this, in the backswing, and I really had a hard time with that. You know,
Nicholas was vertical was pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah. What?
But see, Toski was a different type teacher. You know, Toski's slim, slim build.
Yeah.
And so he had to generate all the power he could. You know, I played with him 4 or 5 years ago at 85 or 87, something like that, and he's still getting the club past horizontal.
Wow. Wow. And for those of you who don't know, Bob Toski, for a long, long time, was considered the golf instruction guru. That's who you wanted to see.
Well, and still he has, a big name.
Yeah,
He
well,
still
I
teaches.
guess that,
He's got
yeah.
a couple tour players.
Okay, well, that's what I mean. I wasn't even aware of that because I hadn't heard his name mentioned that much.
Right.
But you're talking, that's as good as it gets, is what I'm saying. That's fantastic. You got to sit down and, pick Bob Toski's brain. That's
And he's 90 years old now.
if he still gets it past here, he's got
He
me
does.
beat. I can't turn, something happens when I get to here. I
You know,
can't do it.
4 years ago, he's out driving me by 10 or 20 yards, and I said, "Bob, how can I pick up some yardage?" He said, "Make a fuller backswing." And I said, "I can't get back here unless I bend my left arm." He says, "Well, bend your left arm then."
The bended.
Yeah.
He said, "It'll straighten out at the bottom of the swing."
He never kept his arm straight all the way.
Well, he got back there, and then it was bent at the
Yeah,
top.
it was bent at the top.
Well, I love. Okay, so we're going into the next. What would you say was your best experience and your best performance on the tour?
The regular tour now.
Yeah, the regular tour.
Well, of course, to start that way was a big
Oh, that's
plus,
huge.
you
Yeah.
know. And then I had some good tournaments, like I mentioned to you earlier that I was one shot out of the lead going to the last round at Oklahoma City the
Yeah.
first year.
Yeah.
And, I got hurt myself on times because of lack of experience and the pressure.
You
know,
told
like
yeah.
I'm playing with the host pro and George Bayer. And
Sure.
Ernie Vossler was the
George
host pro.
Bear. George Bear back then, by the way, it was a mountain of man. He was the big hitter.
Yeah.
George Bear could hit it like 50 yards farther than everybody else on the tour.
And Ernie Vossler, who was the host pro there, he was a well-known club pro, and he played the tour some. And George wasn't very kind to him because of the condition of the course, and it was kind of embarrassing for me to think, why would he get on the host pro like that?
Yeah.
But anyway, that was the way it went.
So much for that. Yeah.
Well, what about the classic story? If Norma doesn't get mad at me, the ice cream story that you told me was
Oh, the ice
still
cream story?
a classic to me because the tour now has
Well,
changed so much.
In 67,
Uh-huh.
they had the Frank Sinatra Invitational in Palm Springs. I only had it 1 year. And the last round, I'm 4 shots out of the lead going to the last round. And at the end of 9 holes, I'm still 4 shots out of the lead. And I'm in the sand trap, so I'm not too happy, see. And I get ready to go in the trap. My wife taps me on the shoulder. I said, she said, could I have a quarter? I said, for what? She said, for the ice cream man. And I said, right now? And she said, yeah, well, if you don't give me one right now, you might be gone.
He might be gone. That's still a classic.
That is a great, and we're laughing.
And so the next tournament, Dale Douglas.
Yeah. It was okay.
Housewife Norma's, and this is her. She's the
Yeah,
one that
she's
asked for the
here.
quarter.
She's still
You
got
gotta
that
love
beautiful
this,
smile.
I love it. I love that. That's a great story. I like. By the way,
You can
I know
see, though, I've been around Al for, geez, now 40 years, I think. So it's having he's the most patient person I've ever met, almost. I think Al is, that's a credit to why he's never going to get flustered about how the game round is going. I don't think he's just going to
No highs and lows.
No highs
He's
and
an
lows.
even
Just,
keel.
let's hit the next
Gotta
shot.
be it. Yep.
Very methodical player and very focused. A total gentleman. He's been a mentor to me in the golf industry. He's just, if you can live up to his standards, you did great. But I could see him hitting that bunker shot, getting in there and digging in, grinding on it, ready to knock it close, get within 3 shots of lead. And then all of a
You
sudden,
got a quarter.
wait a minute, what quarter?
A quarter wouldn't get you a lick of a cone now. Back then, you'd probably get a big
So
guy.
I would love to have seen that video. That'd have been
Well,
classic.
that's a great story. I
That
Well,
love
the
it.
next tournament, Dale Douglas said to Norma on the first tee, do you have a quarter?
Now, did he just was he playing with you, or is that a story? Did he just?
Oh, he just came up to Norma. We were good friends, you know, and
Oh, okay.
kidding her, or kidding both of us.
Well, that's a big name too. There's a guy that had. You talk about major success on the senior
Yeah.
tour of the champions.
He
Dale
won
Douglas.
right off the bat
What a great golf swing
on
he had.
Champions Tour.
Wow. Yeah. I just remember that name. I went. "Well, there's a guy I used to love to watch swing a golf club. He was smooth. He was really really good.
Now I see Bert's name out back there, Bert Yancey. When do you play a little bit with Bert when you were out on the tour?
Well, before I went on tour, and when I was at Homestead, his brother was the superintendent at Palmetto, and I was playing at Palmetto, being the state amateur champion. I was given a membership to Palmetto, and because I knew the owner, and luckily he invited me to be a member there. And so Bert and I would play frequently, and that was the year before he started on tour. And so his brother was kind of helping him with his swing, you know, and we'd go out and have good games until his brother showed up, and then Bert was kind of go to pieces sometimes. So
Bert-
anyway, yeah, I played with Bert
Yeah.
several times.
He was focused.
In
He's
fact,
another
I was
one.
playing in a tournament where he died,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
which was really, we were playing in Utah on altitude, 6,000 feet. And he was on the practice tee, and I was already on the course. So, but I heard later, you know, they said he was on a practice tee and he wasn't feeling too good, and he went over and sat down. And they said, you know, he wants to call an ambulance. No, I'm okay. You know, and next thing you know, he's gone.
Yeah. And he wasn't. How old was he? Late 50s. I don't think he was older
Probably.
than that. Yeah, that I remember.
Yeah.
What
But
a
he
talent.
had the medicine. He had the manic depressive for him.
Yeah.
Was tough.
Yeah, I knew he was. Yeah, he had some
He had those
depression
problems.
issues. But I'll tell you what. Well, I know that we're going to be closing at the end of the second round. But what I want you to think about is we're going to segue from your tour experiences to the big moment where you finally win your big tournament on the Champions Tour. And so please stay with us. We're going to be back with the third round of Playing from the Tips with Al Kelley and with more good stories about golf. And these just take me back. I love this stuff. So we'll be back with the third round of Playing from the Tips right after this. I love that story about the ice cream. That's great. We are back with the third round. We've all made the cut, so we made it to the third round here of Playing from the Tips at beautiful Harbor Hills Country Club. Again, I'm with head teaching pro, PGA teaching pro Tom Lineberger, and our special guest, Al Kelley. Al not only played for many, many years on the PGA Tour, but he is a former champion on the Champions Tour, the Senior Tour. And when I left off talking about your tour experiences, okay, so you're playing, you've had a modicum of success on the Pro Tour, but back then, in fact, we were talking off camera. You decided to tell me how you got into the head pro position that you got into.
Well, when I in '67 was the last full year I played on the
On the
regular
tour,
tour.
okay.
For lack of money and probably
That's a good
some
reason.
experience and the combination of things. So I was a teaching pro in Orlando in '69, and at Mid-Florida Country Club, which no longer exists. But I was assistant pro there and was playing mini tours and pro-ams, and got the head job that fall because the man I was working for, Herb Smith, got the job at Dubstred in Orlando. And they offered me the job at Mid-Florida, and so I accepted it. And so in the fall of '69, I became a head pro. And so I was there, and then eventually I went to Dubstred before then playing the mini tours.
Well,
So starting in '76, I played the mini tour for about 4 or 5 years. It was called the Space Coast Tour.
yeah, I remember.
So I
the
was
space.
teaching
Sure.
at a course called Winter Pines in Orlando and playing the Space Coast Tour. And then I went to the Country Club of Orlando as a teaching pro.
Well, tell me then, because I've got to ask. So, the bug to when you became eligible for the champions, was that your I'm eligible? I want to take a shot at it. Is that
Well, I have to take it a little bit further.
Okay.
I became the head pro in 1980 at Silver Lake Country Club in
Okay.
Leesburg, Leesburg, Florida. And
Sure.
I was there until I turned 50 in 1985.
Okay.
They did not have a qualifying school in '85. In '86, they had a qualifying school for 4 spots, and they had it was $1,000 entry fee. And I didn't like the odds, so I didn't go for that. But I qualified for the PGA Seniors, and I played in that and finished 29th. And I said,
wow?
well, that's encouraging.
That is encouraging.
To my first PGA Seniors.
I would think that'd be very
PGA
encouraging.
National in West Palm Beach. I finished 29th, so I feel like, I play out here. I just need, got to get the chance.
When
Well,
did
then-
you get the nickname Mr. Monday? I
Well,
remember
we'll get to that,
getting to that.
unless you want me to jump to
No, go ahead.
Save that
Well,
one.
Save that one.
And so in '87, they had 8 spots for $1,000. So I said, well, I like my odds better.
Yeah.
So I entered, and I got the 8th spot in a playoff.
Wow.
4 for 1, I got the 8th spot, which was nice.
So you got 4 guys out there playing off, and
Right.
you won
4
it.
of us were tied.
Oh,
for the
that's
8th spot.
fantastic. What?
So 3 extra holes. So anyway, I was exempt then for the year.
Sure.
And you had to finish in the top 31 to be completely exempt, the top 50 to have some status. I finished 52nd. So it was back to tour school. So every week, I'd have to qualify or try to qualify. And that's when I started working on qualifying, and I would hit all the angles to be a good qualifier. Like I'd call up the host pro and I'd say, I've got to qualify on Monday. Do you have a caddy that knows the greens?
Yeah.
And knows the golf course? And a lot of times, I would get the club champion maybe, or at
Sure,
least a good,
sure.
good young player.
Well, they'd be
or a
thrilled to
caddy.
death. They'd love the opportunity to
And,
carry it
that
back.
helped
Sure.
a lot, especially courses I'd never seen before. And so the first year I qualified in 13 tournaments out of, I don't know, probably 26 tries, something like that.
Okay.
The next year, 19, because I went back to tour school each time and didn't quite make it. And so I was back to qualifying on Mondays. And then,
You talk about patience.
Yeah,
There you go.
I was going to
So
say that
tremendous
really
patience.
is.
so then I got 4th alternate the next year. And so between that and qualifying, I was in almost every week. And
Wow.
that was starting at the beginning of the year. And then in July, I win at Newport. And so that
And that's Rhode Island, right?
Newport,
Rhode Island.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, can we bring this out?
Yeah, bring it out. And I got the.
This is. I want to make sure
It's 2 pieces.
2 pieces. I'm going to have put this here, and we're going to just put this up in front of us here. Don't block yourself. Excuse me. No?
Put this
But,
on top or just?
yeah, just put that on top, and our camera, we'll talk around it, but,
So here's the
Look
here's
at
the
this.
back. Can you get that? So I think it's kind of cool if you look. We were just talking about that. Jim Dent, runner-up. Trevino. You have to give the Trevino story because you played with him in the final round, right?
Played with Trevino
look, Reeves McBee,
And-
holy mackerel.
and with Terry Dill, who didn't have such a good round. He's down here somewhere.
Yeah.
Look at the names in there.
But Trevino was leading. He shot 65. Incidentally, got rained out the first day, so it was a 2-day tournament. So Trevino shot shot 65 the first round. I shot 66, and we're paired together with Terry Dill. And then Trevino shot 73, and I shoot 68, and actually ended up winning by 2.
But that's like a who's who. You got Dale Douglas,
Look at
Lee
them all.
Elder, Lou
Bruce
Graham,
Bruce Crampton was at the
Bert
top.
was my man.
He was at
Miller
the,
Barber.
Miller Barber.
Bruce Crampton was considered
First year,
a great player on national, on
Tom Shaw
international.
won a bunch out there too. Remember
Yeah.
that?
J.C. Goosey, are you kidding?
You got Brody, John Brody, the
John
football
Brody,
player.
that's right, the quarterback,
Yeah,
who was
Gary
a
Barber.
great golfer.
Babe Hiskey,
yeah.
Jim Dent.
Jim Dent.
Even Rocky
Big Bird.
Thompson had some success on the regular tour, being then he
Got
went to
Sanders out there.
Some of those guys were pretty good players.
This way.
And Lou Graham, National Open winner. There's Bert Yancey.
And who remembers Mike Fetchick? There you go. DeWitt Weaver and Mike Fetchick. Boy, oh boy.
Gabe Brewer.
That's like a who's who, as
It's a
Tom
classic
said.
right there.
That's amazing to win a tournament with. I'm trying to count. Let's see. Obviously you got one Hall of Famer in that group, and maybe even 2. I'm trying to think of. Did Sanders make it? I couldn't remember if Sanders was.
I don't know if he did or
I know
not.
Trevino did, but Sanders I bet was close. But my gosh, these were the best golfers, especially senior golfers, going right now, and to win that is remarkable to say the least. And to no playoff there, that was a rather a 2-stroke victory. So there's no regrets on that.
It's fortunate. Brett played real consistent. And I think Trevino didn't know, that was his first year playing that course.
Uh-huh.
And he hit it a couple places, where he couldn't get it up and down for a par. And that was really, I think, the key. And I was hitting greens and putting for birdies a lot of the holes. It's just worked to my,
I'm gonna move this over here again.
actually, the turning part of the tournament was that Lee was ahead by 1 going to the 12th hole. It was a par 5.
on the final round, he was up one.
It was
Oh,
a
my.
par 5.
How about that?
And, he's leading.
Get a
so
little
he-
closer to the mic, Al.
He kept his lead. And
Lean in a little bit. Thanks.
so the 12th hole was a par 5, and Trevino was just short of the green. I was in the right bunker, and I was away, and I hit first, and it was about a 10, 12 yard foot shot,
Mhm.
and I holed it out for an eagle. And Trevino chipped it up and made his birdie. So at that point, we were both 8 under. And we went to the next hole, and I make about a 15-footer or longer for a birdie, and he doesn't. And then they birdied that part of the next hole. And so it was just, and he bogeyed the next hole.
Well, that's called outplaying
So all of a sudden,
Trevino, by the
I
way.
went-
He's
all
not
of a
going to say
sudden
it.
went ahead.
I know what outplaying somebody is, and that's outplaying Trevino, which is, I think, pretty
But what-
special.
What about Trevino? See, we were kidding. We've played a few times, and Trevino said, to his caddy, there's water on the left on this hole, or there's out of bounds on the right on this hole.
Well, he didn't say anything that misled me.
No, but I mean, he tried to put it to me when we were talking, a while back.
mentioning
Just
where the problems
trying to
were
put
to hit the
a
ball.
negative thought
Yeah.
into your head.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it to me. That's what I got when we talked about
That's
it.
what
a
it
while
sounds
back.
like, yeah.
And then he made the comment, "Go ahead, kid, on 18, knock it down the middle. I've been harassing you."
No, he didn't do any of that.
What was the
I
comment?
played with him quite a few
Twice.
times.
Yeah.
But that might have been the first time I played with him, because he was new on the tour. I think that was his first year on tour,
Tour.
Is that right?
first or
Yeah.
second. But he made the statement on the front 9. He shot even par after having birdied the first hole. He had a birdie and a bogey, and so at that point, I'm 1 shot ahead. But then he said, "I'm gonna knock it close and birdie 10," which he did. He knocked it 3 or 4 feet. And then he missed 11, but then he birdies 12. See, 2 out of 3 holes he makes birdie. And I bogeyed, had my only bogey on 11. So I was 1 down going to 12.
12.
And then I pulled even, and I I went 3 holes in a row. And so that put me ahead, and then I stayed ahead. He birdied 16, and I parted out of the trap.
Now what?
It was interesting. Terry Dill says to me, he was our 3rd member. He said, "You didn't play very good that last round. You hit it in several traps." I said, "Yeah, I got up and down every time and hold 1." So I was 1 under par out of the traps.
That's pretty good.
What did Terry say about that?
I said, "Well, I ended up winning."
By the way, Terry, I hate to do this. I'm going to point to the scoreboard,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. But let me ask you. So you're coming down the last couple holes, and you're leading. Does that just totally encompass your thought, or do you have to block that out as best as you can? I would think you had to be aware of it.
Well, I was mainly just trying to play hard,
Okay.
trying not to make any mistakes. And I
Okay.
was hitting the ball well. You know, like 17, I hit it 15 feet. Trevino was maybe 20 feet. He misses, and I've got a birdie putt to go up by 3. I'm 2 up on him then. And then on 18, I was debating between a driver and a 3-wood. And just out of the clear blue sky, he said, "You know, if I was leading a tournament, I don't think I'd hit anything more than a 3-wood off this tee." Well, I couldn't get my driver back in the bag fast enough to get that 3-wood out.
I'll tell you what.
We both hit 3-wood off the tee, and he ended up 3-putting, and I 2-putted and won the tournament.
We're going to be back, and I want to hear. I got some more questions about that tournament. I want to talk about what you've been doing since then. So we are going to be back with our special guest, Al Kelley, with the 4th round of Playing from the Tips here at beautiful Harbor Hills right after this. 4th and final round of Playing from the Tips here at beautiful Harbor Hills Country Club. Of course, I'm with the head teaching pro here, Tom Lineberg, and our special guest, Al Kelley, former Champions Tour winner and a member of the PGA Tour. And Al, I love the stories, and I love what you've shared with me. Okay, once the Champions Tour disappears or dissipates a little bit from your career, how did you give me an idea of what you did once you decided that you weren't going to continue on the Champions Tour?
Well, it wasn't that I didn't want to continue. It was
I
a case of
said that wrong.
running out of exemption,
running out of money and
being
exemptions and
an exempt
sponsors.
player.
Sure.
I was out there for 9 years.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
87 to 96.
Oh, that's a good stab
And
at
so
it. That's
at
great.
the point at the end, I was going off of the all-time money list, and there was a guy coming out that just had a little bit of money, something like $7 million. His name was Hale Irwin. So I knew that I was in trouble if I didn't have some good tournaments. And sure enough, when he came, that knocked me off. Of course, there were some other guys in the meantime that I could have possibly stayed ahead of.
Hale dominated the senior tour for
but Hale-
probably 10 years.
Hale jumped in
Unbelievable.
there, and you know that it was. I knew it was coming, but you know you'd have to go back down the line and say, you know, I needed to be playing better
Right.
prior to that.
Right.
So at that point, you know, I'm 64 years old. 60. Let's see. Started at 57. I mean, in 87. So I was 52.
In
No,
87?
61.
Okay.
Yeah.
61. All right. Well, for the myriad of reasons, you've decided you're not going to take a crack at it. Not the least of which would be Hale Irwin. But so, how do you plan out the rest of your career? How did you do it?
Well, when I could still go out there and try and qualify, which I did on
Sure,
occasion.
sure.
And then once in a while, I would be exempt from the all-time money list. You know, they'd go down the list far enough that I would call up, or they'd call me and say,
Sure.
"Do you want to play?" You know, the last one was in 2002. I played in Mexico City Open because not a whole lot of guys wanted to go to Mexico. But it was nice, you know, played great golf course, Chapultepec Country Club in the middle
Wow.
of Mexico City.
Mexico City.
And I'd played the 2 previous years at Puebla,
Oh.
which is a pretty good sized city. And it's probably 100 miles from Mexico City, 80 to 100. Nice golf course there. So that was the end of my playing on Champions Tour. And so then I just was basically just teaching at my old club for a while, and then Tom asked me to come over or let me come over and teach at Pine Meadows where he was.
Fantastic.
And so I was over there and,
For a little
and
while.
teaching with Tom and playing with him, and we'd go play in pros together and some things like that.
Wow.
And until unfortunately Pine Meadows closed. So then I went to Country Club Mountdora,
Okay.
where I am today
Oh,
as a
okay.
teaching pro,
Oh, wonderful.
And
Okay.
you won
and
the
playing with members.
senior though, the PGA senior championship and super seniors for the state of Florida. Hey, haven't you
Well,
won
the North Florida
the
section.
North Florida
Yeah.
section?
Wow.
Yeah, I won the PGA, North Florida PGA, before I was a senior.
Senior.
I won the senior match play and senior medal play. And
So his
Sorry.
career, even though he's not playing on the tour, he's still
He's still
winning. And
still-
you look at the Florida players.
he's still winning against top like
Top players
competition.
in the
well,
state.
not now. I'm not.
Well, no, I'm saying it sounds to me like not that long ago. So I
Yeah.
mean that's pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah, he's a handful.
I would
When
bet.
you-
I would bet he is. But just briefly, okay. So you won the tournament that you won though at Newport. Now you couldn't go back. They don't let the defending champs go back for like
Oh, yeah.
5-10 years. Did you
Yeah.
continue to
Well,
go
I-
back there at least? Go out and play.
I played in it 2 more years.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
then that tournament went by the wayside.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
Here
not.
again, this was a smaller of the tournaments. It was a $400,000 tournament, which sounds like a lot of money, but today all the
Not if you're
champion
paying.
tour
Yeah,
events are 2 and 3 million.
yeah.
But in those days we were going between maybe 350,000 to $1 million. I think the biggest tournament was $1 million tournament, the Vantage Championship, and so they wanted Newport to go up in price.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 3 sponsors, but for whatever reason, they didn't feel like they could do it, is what I understood. And so it went by the wayside. Somebody else, what they would do is a tournament would come in, would want to come on the tour. And they'd say, okay, if you come on, you have to come on for 500,000 or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And so then they would go back to the lesser tournaments to see if they could go up. And then when they couldn't, then the new ones would come in and take their place. So, it was gradually building up in the total purse money.
Well, answer me this, and I always like to talk to somebody, especially somebody who's had such long time success as you've had. The biggest difference is you're obviously still teaching today. In the game itself, is it the clubs, the technology?
Well, of course, the technology is a big improvement,
Right.
with the golf ball and the graphite shafts, the lighter shafts, and longer shafts. More and more players went to longer clubs on the driver, and Rocky,
How about the-
Rocky Thompson was playing with a 50-inch driver when I was out there.
How about the conditioning? The guys now seem to like they're taking their health and they're staying in shape. And,
That's
that
something
too.
you've done for forever. You worked out 3 days a week ever since I've known you.
all right, well then there you
Well,
go.
probably not when I should have.
Yeah, but you were pretty steady.
back on the
Norma's
tour, I
that way.
probably should
Norma's
have.
still. She's twice a week, but they've both been fitness. They've been taking care of themselves. You guys, you eat right and you work out. That's kind of you've been your ammo since I've known you.
Right. Well, try to stay healthy.
Yeah, you do a good job at it.
Which plus you got to keep the flexibility. We were talking before about
Right.
the flexibility in the swing. I would think that would, if you don't limber up and do what you got to do to keep yourself limber and loose,
Well,
I would think you'd lose that flexibility. Anybody would lose it real fast as you age and you get into your 60s and 70s. I mean that's
Well, I
that's
think
tough.
I think it's stretching and working out, and keeping your legs and arms strong, and so I have a routine that was set up by a physical therapist,
Okay.
especially for golf,
Great.
and so I use that routine. Not that it's, I can't hit it very far anymore, but
Right.
it lets me hit it,
Yeah.
and I stay flexible because I'm stretching every day.
Well, it's interesting. you're talking about, I'm sure you still hit the ball fine. I mean, are you going to hit it at 250 or 280? Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, it's still, the idea is to still keep it straight and still get it up and down. And I just suspect you can do that. I wanted to ask you also about, we were talking also about the technology, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the governing body of golf, because we've done a couple shows, and I've been kind of disappointed with some of the rulings that have come out of the PGA and some of these. We were talking before about the ball moving. I remember, and I thought
With Dustin Johnson?
yeah. I was just curious. Is that something that happened a lot previously, or I mean, where guys would call or not call it on themselves, or you could tell? I mean, I'm just
Well,
curious.
majority of times, the guy would call it
Yeah,
himself.
yeah.
There's some people that they'd say, he's never going to call it, if his ball moves or
Yeah.
whatever. And I guess that happened at times, but, it was rumored that it happened. Certain guys, they say, well, yeah, he's never going to have a bad lie or something. But, I can't say that I actually witnessed it. Now, here in Florida, one guy, I witnessed it with him, but then he was Peck's bad boy. But anyway,
Well, I was just curious because what was your take on the Dustin Johnson thing from as far as how it was handled? This we're going to talk to you about it later, and we'll decide if you're.
well, it was unfortunate, I think, that they didn't right then.
Yeah.
When one guy says to him, there's no penalty. And then 2 holes later,
It might be. There
well,
might
it
be.
sounds like the man that was in charge of that hole, he talks to the head man, and I say, well, let's look at it on TV. And then you look at it, and the more they look at it, then the more they're wondering,
Yeah.
did he really cause it to move? You ever notice he always does that? He's always right there at the ball with his practice stroke.
Yeah.
we
So
had
he didn't touch the ball.
we've got 5, I think, Florida State golf officials that are members at our club here, and got talking to them, and they were like, is it 2 feet from the ball, 3 feet from the ball, 1 foot from the ball?
Yeah.
I mean, their argument was, what
Right.
deemed it to move? So they were like, their consensus out of them is that was a bad call.
Right.
They said, there's no guidelines there. So you take a practice swing. If you're 2 feet, it's a penalty. But if you're 3 feet, you're okay, or 2.5 feet. They said,
Yeah. Well, here's the real unfortunate thing, is that if that group is on national TV and something happens, that they pick up on it, somebody sees it, and they call in,
Yeah.
so-and-so, take a look at that. He had an infraction of the rules. That isn't fair. Could that happen in a football game, a baseball game,
Right,
basketball game?
right.
No, it couldn't.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't happen in golf, because if Joe Blow is back here and there's no cameras on him and he has the same circumstance and he says to his playing partners, this situation happened, what do you think? This is what I did. And they decide, or they get a ruling, and then that's it. There's no TV coming back and saying, oh, wait a minute, something went wrong here, and then penalize the person later.
yeah. I
So
remember
it's an unfair circumstance.
Craig
That shouldn't
Taylor
be
got
allowed out
penalized too, putting a towel down. I remember that. He put a towel down,
I remember
and then
that.
he got on
Put
his
knees.
knees.
Yeah, get on
and
his
then he
knees.
hit the shot, and then they
Yeah.
penalized him for building
Improving his stance,
And he
yeah.
said, I didn't want to get my
Pants
$150 pair of pants dirty. He said, I wasn't building a stance. He goes, I was just trying to keep my pants from getting.
Well, I think
messed
the
up."
worst one was the tournament there where the guy's in the sand trap in the playoff, and he touched 1 grain of sand going back,
Oh,
and they picked up on it on TV.
yeah, they
and
saw
then-
it and they slowed it
And
down.
then they tell him about the penalty, or his opponent, one or the other. He told one of them and then not the other at the same time. But, I mean, it was such a fine, the guy didn't know he had done that. It wasn't like he was trying to get
Well, that's
away
what I
with
mean. No,
something.
he's not trying.
So if the camera wasn't on him, nobody would have ever seen it. It wouldn't have happened. Not that it was right. It's just that the guy behind him or in front of him, it wasn't on the camera. He wouldn't have been penalized.
Well, I'll tell you what, we could go on forever, but I know our time's up. But I'll tell you what, I want to thank Al. This was a real treat for me. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Well, thank you for coming, and I thank Tom for getting you here.
Thanks, Al.
And I'll
Thanks
tell you
for
what,
inviting
folks, it doesn't get better than this. I'll tell you what, we will be back next week with another guest, another exciting installment of Playing from the Tips, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
Very nice.
No, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Left my drink up there. I got two-stroke.
I don't think anybody, two-stroke penalty. You're improving your microphone. Jeez.
Unusual things was that I was playing at Inglewood in Seattle, and Casper was behind me, and it had rained earlier in the morning. It was a wet situation, and this hole went like this down to the green. So we had played the hole. We walked off the green, and I looked back up there, and Casper comes over the hill, and for some reason, going too fast or something, he loses it. So now his cart's going like this, and it stops like this, facing up the hill, and then slides all the way back down the hill backwards like that. And later I said to him, "Hey, Bill, you almost lost it there on the fourth hole." He said, "Yeah, but I didn't."
That's funny.
But different things happen. You know, one tournament, it had rained and it was slippery, and this cart path went like this. It was in New York, and forget the guy's name right now. Morgan was his last name. He was coming down that cart path, and he flipped the cart on top of him.
Oh.
And one of the other pros playing with him lifted the cart off of him
Jeez.
and hurt his shoulder. And so the cart fell on, he was out of it, he got injured. And the other guy had to have his shoulder operated on later on.
You don't mean Gil Morgan?
No,
No, it was another Morgan from, yeah.
Forget his first name now. Dan. It was Dan Morgan. He was a national qualifier. Played out there a couple of years.
Fantastic. Well,
One of the unusual things, I got to tell you one more story.
I love it.
I'm playing
Hello.
at Canopelli in Hawaii,
Mhm.
and the 18th hole goes along the water like this, and the green sits here like this, and then the water's out around the green. So I'm playing with Gene Littler and somebody else, and I hit it on the green. Gene hits it over here, and he lands just short of the green in grass about this high. So he's over there, and he's going to chip, see, and he's taking a couple practice swings, and next thing, he's dead in the water. Took one more step, right off the end of the water. And it wasn't like just stepping in the water.
No,
I
it's
mean,
a
it was
long
about
drop,
a 4
big
foot drop off.
Big drop.
And I mean, we're like, we go running over there, and he comes up out of the water, soaking wet, And now the ball's still there.
And he's still got to come back and hit it.
Now he's going to play a shot. I said, Gene, be careful. He's like playing.
Watch your step, yeah.
pretty
But
funny.
choke up.
I said, "You all right?" He said, "Yeah, I'm okay." Well, then that was the last term of the year. He doesn't show up until the third month of the next year. And I said, "Gene, where have you been?" And he said, "You know when I fell off that cliff? He said, I hurt my shoulder. I had to have it operated on."
Oh my gosh. Oh jeez. Yeah,
And it was scary. 'Cause, I mean, one more step, and
oh my gosh.
I mean, it wasn't just slip off. It was
Gone.
That's amazing. Well, I can't thank you enough. This was great.